I'm about to take you through all of the seeds that you could be sowing today. It is reaching the middle of February. That here in Australia is towards the end of summer, and we are heading towards autumn, or overseas you might call that fall. So still pretty warm temperatures, still warm soils, but we are thinking about and heading towards the cooler months. I've got two different sizes of trays here. These, as you've probably seen before, are the trays that I cut down from the broken quality plants and seedlings trays, because they are so good for growing, for seed starting in, and you can use them over and over again. But I've got the little ones, actually before I tip that in I'll show you. The little ones, which is the standard size that creates that kind of seedling plug. And then I've got this size, which is one bigger, which is better for things that grow really quickly. So for example, beans, peas, they grow quite quickly. They need more space before I might be ready to transplant them. Also things that I'm just wanting to nurture inside for longer, they'll last longer in here. So in terms of what I am putting in here, this is a seed raising mix I am just obsessed with. It is the professional seed raising mix that's used by the Werribee nursery. When they go through the machine, a whole lot falls off to the side. So rather than wasting it, they make it available for purchase as like a recycled, sustainable product, and it is so good for growing with. It has the perfect kind of drainage, water retention, all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't have nutrients in there because they add nutrients on top in the watering process. Now, because of that, I've added a worm castings in here, so maybe like 1 part worm castings to 9 parts seed raising mix, just to add that nutritional boost, because seeds are incredible the way that they are packed with nutrition. So if something were to germinate just in a paper towel, for example, it'd be fine for some time until it reached a certain height, because it gets all the nutrients that it needs from the seed. Now, how big do they need to be before you need to give them a little bit more food? Good question. And it largely depends on the plant, but my general rule of thumb is once a seedling is sort of up to about 5 centimetres or maybe even less. Oh, there's a bug on there. Just dropped dirt all over the floor. Once the seedling gets about that big, that's when I will start to add a nutrient solution in these trays, just because the trays themselves are not big enough to provide the nutrients that plant's going to need as it gets a bit bigger. So the beauty of using a bigger tray is you don't have to worry about that. You can mix in either a worm casting or a compost sifted down finely, just to give it that food source for when the plants outgrow the nutrients that are available in their seed. Okay, so what am I going to be putting in here? Corn. It's not too late to get some corn in the ground. Corn is really good to succession plant, because again, what's the point in having all your corn ready in one go unless you're selling it? But there's not too much longer before it will start getting too cold. So if you want to grow any more corn, or if you haven't tried yet for the season, get those seeds in today. Corn. Don't forget to label, because you will not remember what you've put in each one, even if you think you will. I promise you won't. We do still have a few weeks left of summer, and early autumn can be quite warm. So I am going to put some more beans in. Typically it's almost too late in the season to put beans in, but what's the worst that could happen? They don't live to full maturity, whatever. If you've got kids in your life and you want to get them interested in growing, adding colour is just one of the simplest ways to do it. Beans, interesting. Purple beans, more interesting. So you'll notice beans and corn I've put in these bigger trays. Purpbeans. It's that interesting time of the year that you really can think about those mixed season crops. So we're not going to have frost for at least the next few months. We're also slowly going to have fewer of those really, really hot days. So it's actually quite an exciting time to get planting, because there's a lot you can grow at the moment towards the end of summer. I'm going to get some more peas in. Dwarf varieties are going to grow quicker. They're going to be a bit more fun for the kids. I'm always going to be biased towards things that kids will love to grow. But I think if you're trying to get someone interested in growing, whether they're kids or adults, growing things that look like food is a really great way to start. Now, it might sound a bit strange, but if you think about broccoli, for example, the majority of time that a broccoli plant is growing, it doesn't look like broccoli. It's only right at the end you'll get that broccoli head. So I wouldn't grow broccoli if you were trying to get someone interested in growing, because it's such a long period of time before they get any reward. However, things like snow peas, sugar snap peas, not only can they see them growing, they can pull them off and eat them. Strawberries as well. You can tell that a strawberry is going to be a strawberry from very young in its life cycle, which is fun to grow because it looks like food. Whereas you'll often go into a veggie patch, and if it's a experienced person's veggie patch, you'll often look at it and go, I can't even tell what's food in there. Potatoes, for example, they don't look like potato until you dig them out. Now, they are fun to dig up, but if you're looking at a veggie patch and you don't know what you're looking at, you won't associate a potato plant with something that you can pick and eat. To get people interested in growing, focus on food they can see. And I do include carrots and beetroots in that because you can see the top of it, you can dig around. Now, I always use a double tray for growing inside. And there is a very good reason for that. You need one with holes in it, a drip tray. Oh, actually, is this a drip tray? Anyway, it's a hole tray. And then one without holes. And the reason why is because you don't want your house to get flooded when you water your plants, but you don't want your plants to be sitting in water. You want the bottom of those plants to be disconnected from the closest water source. Largely, lots of reasons, but largely because otherwise the fungus gnats are going to be all over the place. Now, as your plants get a little bit bigger and the roots fill the base, if the water is connected at the bottom, those roots are going to keep spreading through and you won't actually be able to get your seedling out without damaging the roots. So it does a couple of things. It sort of air prunes the roots by making sure they're not connected to the ground. They've got a little bit of that air separation. It also lets the water drain through so your plants don't get too soggy. It also makes it really easy for you to tip out the excess. So you can always see, is there water at the bottom? You can take the whole lot out, tip out the excess water. And also any fungus gnats that want to breed in that really damp water down the bottom, if you keep that layer of separation, they won't be able to climb into your plants and start eating away at the roots of your seedlings. I can never have enough lettuce in the garden. On the really hot days, lettuce can bolt ultra quickly. So if you're already growing lettuce outside, make sure you keep the water up to them on the hot days and or even add some shade. And also focus on what variety of lettuce you're planting. So this one is all year round, which means it will do a little bit better in those warmer months than some of the other lettuces. I'm going to get some cos in too because cos always does beautifully. So I've switched over to the smaller size tray now. And I'm going to get lettuces in here. I'm not actually going to fill the whole lot up. I'm going to do a bit of succession planting. So I'll do a line of each lettuces. I'm also then going to start getting some brassicas in. I'm going to put some red cabbage in here. And I'm in two minds about beetroot. Everyone always says to start all root vegetables straight in the ground rather than in a seed raising system, but mine just then get eaten by snails. I'm going to focus on lettuces in here and then I'll find my other brassicas. This is the other thing I wanted, cosmos. So cosmos flowers are so beautiful. I'm loving them at the moment. I've grown some successfully from seed, but then I planted them in the ground just before we had those 45-degree days and we went away for a few days. Gone, dead. Let's get some more going. We can start thinking about our cool weather crops, and some brassicas take longer to grow. We're talking your cabbages, your broccoli, your broccolini, all that sort of stuff. You can get those seeds started right now. Radishes, if you are fairly new to growing, you can't go wrong with radishes. They grow so quickly, they're super easy, and they're a really satisfying one to grow. If you don't like radishes though, probably a waste of time. Don't forget your root veggies too. I find root veggies grow well all year round, especially here in Melbourne. So I'm going to be sowing some more beetroot today, but also carrots. My kids love carrots. I can never get enough of them. They're slow growers. So don't grow carrots if you're looking for a really quick reward. And if you are looking for quick reward carrots, something I've planted recently, and I'll show you in a second, is little sort of egg-shaped carrots. They grow really quickly. They're great for kids to snack on. I'll show you them soon. And if I can find the name of the seeds I planted, I can link to them as well. I've had heaps of success with indoor seed raising, but the one thing I really haven't nailed yet is Australian natives. I probably haven't put enough time and effort into learning how to do it properly, but I came across, it was an impulse buy. I was at the nursery and I'm telling myself, don't buy plants, don't buy seeds, you don't need them. But then I came across Australian native seed started granules that have a little bit of smoke in there. So there's some Australian natives that require smoke to germinate. So I thought maybe I'll give that a go. I've also bought some eucalyptus seeds. I don't know if this is going to work because these are possibly better to grow from cuttings, but they make the most beautiful cut flower arrangements, and I've been having some success with flowers recently. So I again have failed with Australian native wattle in the past, and it was because the instructions were quite complex and they did talk about smoking the seeds, and I was like, oh, I'll just give it a go without that complex process. I'm sure it'll be fine. They didn't germinate. So, learnt from my mistakes. Billy buttons, I've got some growing as well outside. Now it does say not to grow them in summer, but in autumn you can. So they are some that I would definitely focus on keeping inside so it's not too hot for them to germinate. And I have been loving my everlasting daisies, straw flowers, so I'm going to be starting a whole lot of those flowers today. This is the dwarf version, so they're much shorter, so I'm going to try some of them out the front of the house. And also they just make the most beautiful plants, so I want to be able to give some of those to the kids' schools and kindies. I always check the use by dates of my seeds, and if they are out of date, I still use them because, you know, people have had seeds germinating that are like hundreds of years old if they're kept in good conditions. Now, I'm not going to suggest that these have been kept in particularly good conditions. I don't keep my seeds very well at all, I'm going to be honest with you. But I can tell you there's a really easy way of overcoming the problems with old seeds. So one of the key issues with old seed is that the germination rates are significantly lower. But guess what? If you just put 2 seeds in instead of 1, you double the chance that one of them will germinate. Now that does become problematic if you're growing something like lettuce, because you don't want multiple lettuces growing next to each other or they just won't grow as well. But you just got to pick up on that early. When they germinate, if you've got 2, you just nip off one of them. Problem solved. Moral of the story, life doesn't need to be too complicated. Now you might notice that I'm using these labels to label what I'm sowing. I have shown some of you before, but if you're new to this channel, these were dished out of the bin, which sounds gross, but sustainable. This is that tape that is used in construction to wrap around big bundles of wood. You know, when you see a wood delivery, it's got that green tape wrapped around it, which is that really thick, sturdy plastic. It ends up in the bin everywhere you go. Any industrial area you go into, you'll see it in the bin everywhere. If it's not too gross, pull some out, cut it up. Perfect plant labels. What was it? It was COS. Good for the environment, reduce, reuse, recycle. They make perfect labels. People sometimes ask me if I have a favourite seed company. I am impulsive, and so I will get what is available at the time. And if I can, I will always prefer local ethical companies. Transition Farms is a new one I've discovered because they use the biodynamic principles of growing and seed raising or seed saving, which means it's just ultra organic. more than organic. I think the term organic is almost offensive to them. The other seed brands I love, Quality Plants and Seedlings always do really good seeds. They again are really particular with the quality of their seed because they do grow seed for commercial growers. These are coriander seeds that I've saved from previous years. Coriander, it'll be too hot for coriander outside like for the next couple of weeks, but I start them inside. By the time they're ready to go outside, the weather will have cooled down just that little bit and taken the edge off. That's the plan at least. You can see in these, I am putting a few in each one and then covering them up. Same again. I love how different all the seeds look as well. And because these seeds are a little bit older, I've put 2 to 3 in each one, just because they might have lower germination rates, and that way it doesn't matter so much. And then it's time to pick the other kids up from school. You might be able to hear Lucy in the background. Just picked her up from daycare, but she's having a nice little potter. Now it says you can sow cosmos spring to late summer. So it's February. You can get your seeds in now, but if you're watching this in March, it's probably just too late. And finally, let's water these babies in. Now, if you are wanting a seed raising tray like this and these little nozzles, don't forget that these are actually available for sale on my website and on the Quality Plants and Seedlings website. So we've got a very small number of these upcycled seed raising trays that are professional grade that you can use over and over again. Only a limited number available, and it comes complete with the multi-tray system. So this tray, the base drip tray, it also comes with these. It comes with the soil, the professional quality soil, and everything that you need to get started seed raising. I will make sure I've got that link in the description. I'll also put it in a little drop down box. Let's have a quick look at what I've got in here. So these are some that I've been growing myself from seed and from cuttings. These, I'm still really enjoying doing those succulents at the back. These are indoor house plants from cuttings, and I actually need to get them out of the light. That's too much light for them. And this is a succulent that I love. I'm trying to get that to start to develop roots. I haven't grown that one before. At the back there, I've got some paper daisies that started, I think I did I do a video on those? Now these look beautiful, and if you're thinking, wow, they look too nice to be homegrown, they are. These are some beautiful treasures from Quality Plants and Seedlings that I haven't had a chance to plant in the ground yet. So I'm going to be planting some of them in the ground today, and I'm also going to be sharing a lot of these with the schools and the kindies that I've been working with to get their gardens going. Now this is not something I would typically eat. What is it? Red amaranth. I would never buy red amaranth, and I wouldn't even think to add it into salads, but not only is it nutritious and it sort of tastes similar to an ordinary salad, it looks amazing in your garden. So if you're thinking, oh, everything's just a bit monotone, you don't have your flowers going yet, or you've maybe started, chucking in some beautiful brightly coloured herbs and veggies is a really good way to get your garden looking beautiful. These are flowers as well. I can't tell you how important it is to plant flowers. Doesn't matter if they're edible or not. They're so good for getting the beneficials into your garden, but also making you feel good in your garden. Now, talking about colour, here's some other beautiful colour you can add. So red sprouting kale. Again, I would never buy this from the supermarket, but I love growing it because it's so easy to grow. It's one of those things you can pick and eat over and over again, and it just adds beautiful colour from the garden. So again, I'm not going to claim to have grown these from scratch. These are from the Werribee nursery. They are going to be going out into the garden pretty soon. I'm just keeping them happy and healthy in these grow boxes with a grow light until I have a chance to plant them, and I'm going to be doing a lot of that today.